Welcome back, America. I'll bring you the rest of my Larry Kudlow interview after the break. I'm talking now with United States Senator Tom Cotton. Senator Cotton, I just finished talking with Larry Kudlow. Good morning. Great to have you, by the way.
Good morning, Hugh. Good to be back on with you after a couple of weeks home at Easter. We're back in the nation's capital.
That's important, you guys. I've got to work 24/7. I have a new piece in the Post about working weekends. You think you can get the Senate to do that to get our judges in place?
Well, I would imagine if we go into a weekend, the Democrats might cry uncle and stop this obstruction of President Trump's nominees and future judges. It really is unprecedented. We're wasting, days on the Senate floor to cast votes on nominees that ultimately get near unanimous votes, or at least 90 votes or more. The Democrats need to concede to what the Republicans did the last time we were in the minority, which is a greatly shortened amount of time for relatively non-controversial and obscure positions that are nonetheless very important for the proper functioning of our government and our courts.
Well, Larry Kudlow just said to me, quote, "This town has been trying to thwart the president at every turn. It's been hounding him." He was talking about the seizure yesterday of the personal attorney's papers, Michael Cohen. What did you make of that as a Harvard Law School trained lawyer? I'm just kind of stunned. This has never happened in American history before.
Hugh, I was such an excellent lawyer that I had to give it up and go be an infantryman. I'm not sure you want my legal opinion. Without knowing more about the facts and the circumstances, Hugh, it's obviously hard for me to comment on any particular legal matter. But the broader point that Larry Kudlow makes, I believe, is right, that too many people in Washington have not yet accepted the judgment of the American people that elected Donald Trump as our president. I understand that Washington, D.C. went something like 97-2 for Hillary Clinton, but Donald Trump won the election fair and square. You have a midterm election coming up when you can express your dissatisfaction with him at the ballot box, and you can do it directly when he runs for re-election in 2020. But in the meantime, he is our president, and we have many important matters that we need to address as a nation, whether it's China's predations on our economy and our technology that the president's trying to address through the trade negotiations, or what happened with Bashar al-Assad killing women and children with chemical weapons in his country over the weekend, or the ongoing threat from terrorism or drugs, as I heard about last week in Arkansas. These are critical issues, and I really wish the permanent class in Washington would just accept the verdict of the American people and try to get some of these issues resolved.
Now, Senator Graham on the show yesterday said, "Attack Assad by air and sea." Senator Ernst this morning said the same thing. And, of course, we did 69 cruise missiles last year when he did this. What do you want to see this year, Senator Cotton?
I think there has to be consequences. President Trump has said that. President Macron of France has said that. And I don't think it should only be against Syria. Just as the sparrow cannot fall without the father, Bashar al-Assad cannot launch a chemical attack without Russia and Iran. So while we may take direct military action against Syria, for instance, the bases that they use to conduct these attacks, or potentially just through targeted strikes on airfields and critical facilities like fueling hubs, essentially ground their air force, Russia and Iran should have to pay consequences as well, because they are the chief protectors of Assad and power in Syria.
Now, Lindsey Graham said, "Do not warn the Russians and the Iranians of where and when we're going to hit." They take the chance by being there. They are complicit in his criminality. Do you agree with that?
Last I checked, you don't generally give your enemies warning when you're about to attack. I'm not sure all those Russian mercenaries gave American forces warnings last month when they massed and maneuvered a battalion-sized element on a well-known American position across the deconfliction line in Syria. But I think that's an important event to keep in mind as well, Hugh. The Russians learned the hard way that whatever they call themselves, little green men or mercenaries or special forces, when you mass and maneuver your forces on a U.S. position, it's a good way to get yourself killed. And what did the Russian government do? They took every step they could to minimize it and not to play it up. And that's because they know they have a weak hand. Vladimir Putin often plays it aggressively, especially did in the last administration, but they have a weak hand. And as happened last year when they essentially sent strongly worded letters after we conducted airstrikes on that Syrian airfield that launched the chemical attack, I think you'd see something similar this year.
Will you be upset if Russian planes are damaged in any counterattack that flies today or tomorrow?
If Russian personnel and aircraft are putting themselves in the lines of U.S. forces or directly supporting outlaw chemical attacks, then they shouldn't be surprised at the consequences.
Senator Tom Cotton, always a pleasure to talk with you, Americans. Stay tuned.